2024 has been a crazy year for the entire sneaker industry, and the sneaker flops this year have flopped harder than I have ever seen. So with every pick getting increasingly worse, let's kick this off with Yeezy. Now Yeezys were on last year's list, and I honestly didn't think it could get any worse, but man, seeing Yeezys at outlets for $30 this year killed them off. Now I guess it's also a good time to kind of define sneaker flops before you start running to the comments. A sneaker flop doesn't mean it's a bad shoe. In fact, I still love and still wear Yeezys. So when I say flopped, it's because it's lost a lot of popularity. It's generally speaking a pair of shoes that brands thought were going to be the next best thing, but just did not hit. Now let's talk about Yeezys and how they didn't really just flop. They're actually pretty much just been killed. As someone who has loved Yeezy sneakers and obviously talks about them a lot on this YouTube channel, I saw them go from something so many people absolutely loved and being at the top of the hype pyramid to all of a sudden being practically given away. So if you didn't know, Adidas decided to basically get rid of every single last pair of Yeezy that they have in their inventory here in 2024. And what this meant was they were selling them at ridiculously low prices. You could find them at Adidas outlets across the entire world. A bunch of retailers were also slashing prices on these sneakers. But I think the really interesting thing about all of this is how it kind of seemed like a lot of people changed their minds about Yeezys. I mean, a lot of people, including myself, had an absolute field day picking up 50% off Yeezy sneakers, but I think for a lot of other people, seeing them at outlets and discount stores like Sports Direct kind of changed their perception on Yeezy as a brand. And over the span of this year, I have seen an increasing amount of negativity towards the brand itself. It kind of reminds me of that Palessi prank that was pulled. They basically opened up a luxury shoe store, only that they were selling Payless shoes at an 1800% markup. And the people were buying these shoes that were sat on luxurious looking shelves for $650 when in reality, these were shoes that retailed for $20 from Payless. But it was kind of like a social experiment to show how much people's perception of a product is tied into the price. So with the whole Yeezy thing, it kind of shows the opposite. Instead of being in a luxury shoe store, they're now sat in outlets, and people's perceptions have changed from a super hyped up brand that Yeezy was to now just a discount pair that you can get for $30. So I think Yeezy as a brand has taken a massive hit in 2024. People's perceptions, I think, are genuinely tarnished. But honestly, I think when all is said and done, people are going to look back on the Yeezy collaboration as something that was extremely innovative. They brought super unique designs to the table, but I do think here in 2024, as of right now, it's pretty rough. But speaking of price influencing people's purchasing decisions, next we have Adidas Fear of God that got so much hate, even Jerry Lorenzo had to do damage control. So there's about 3 different reasons why Adidas and Fear of God didn't do as well as a lot of people were expecting. The first problem, which even Jerry Lorenzo, the founder of Fear of God, admitted to, is that they just took too damn long to drop the collection. Now, to be fair to Fear of God, this does seem like an error on Adidas's part, and specifically their marketing agency. But essentially, when the partnership was announced, they literally had just signed the contract, meaning they hadn't actually even done any research and development into what products they were going to release. So naturally, as they announced this, everybody got super excited, but they still had to do all of the research and development to actually come up with products to launch. So over 2 years later, when we actually saw the first Fear of God and Adidas products, people had kind of already lost a lot of their excitement. And if you compare this to the Nike Fear of God collaboration, when they announced the partnership, they dropped their first product 2 weeks later. So this just means that they were so much more prepared. They had done all of the research and development. They had an actual product to capitalize on that initial hype of an announcement. But the next big issue for Fear of God and Adidas was the prices. People were just not expecting $350 hoodies and $400 sweatpants. And I don't think they should have, considering Adidas is not a high-end fashion brand. But even the people who were arguing for the prices being this high, saying that the quality and the materials were so great, you can't really argue with the next problem, which was the designs. They were just too simple and too similar to what Fear of God already offers with their Essentials line for a fraction of the price, making people wonder how an Adidas logo slapped on this product really made the price go up $200. I even did a direct comparison between a $125 Essentials fleece and a $330 Fear of God Adidas fleece, and they were so identical, it literally felt like a scam. So as a result of all of this, a few weeks ago, we started seeing Adidas and other retailers put all of this Fear of God Adidas collection on sale racks. It's pretty disappointing, but they are still together, so hopefully we see some better stuff next year. Alright, so next up we have a pair of shoes that hasn't really technically flopped, but I think it will. It's the Travis Scott Jordan Jumpman Jack. Now hear me out, because I actually like these, and overall I don't think it's a bad shoe, but I do think, considering this is the first ever Travis Scott signature sneaker, it's not going to be as popular as Jordan and Travis Scott are expecting. I think the first two colorways were so limited, a lot of the popularity of this sneaker model has been artificially pumped up by the scarcity. And I think once we start seeing more and more colorways released, the price will plummet down and people will not be as excited about this sneaker as they first were. So we can kind of just call this a prediction, because even though we've just got one more colorway dropping this year, most of the rest of them are going to be dropping next year. I don't think these are going to be anywhere near as popular as the Jordan ones have been for Travis Scott, and I think they're going to be a little bit closer to what we saw with his other collaborations with Nike. And I think we can also attach the Spirit On model right alongside the Jumpman Jacks. In fact, I think if anything, this new, I think they're calling it the Jacks Trail sneaker, if anything, it's going to be less popular than the Jumpman Jacks. I mean, the first colorway that I tried out was so limited, only a couple hundred pairs had actually released. I think the popularity for both of these models is going to dwindle over the next few years. I think the Jumpman Jacks look too similar to a lot of other Jordan retros, which as of right now are not the most popular sneakers. But hey, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Let me know if you agree with this down in the comment section or if you completely disagree. Right, now last year we had the Jordan 1s on the list. Now this year it is finally time for Jordan 4's turn. Despite having some of the best Jordan 4 colorways drop here in 2024, the hype for this model has been steadily declining. From practically every single colorway selling out and reselling in 2023 to this year, a lot of them sitting on shelves and some of them under retail. And what's interesting about this is I don't necessarily think it's because Jordan 4s are not trending right now. I think Jordan Brand seriously diluted the Jordan 4 model. I mean, apart from Jordan Brand releasing so many different colorways, they also released a lot of different versions. The Nike SB4s and the Jordan 4 RMs, I think, gave a lot of consumers a real choice when they buy a pair of Jordan 4s. So now when someone's deciding on whether or not to pick up the latest Jordan 4 colorway that's just upcoming, they have a choice now, where arguably the most popular and most hyped up Jordan 4 model is the Nike SB version. They can go and pay resale for that, or if they don't want to pay anything ridiculous in terms of prices, opt for the Jordan 4 RM, which is significantly more affordable and more comfortable. This, in combination with the cost of living rising and the Jordan 4 model being a pretty expensive sneaker, I think 2024 has been a pretty rough one for this model. All right, let's take a little break from Jordan and Nike and let's move on to the next pick, which is the New Balance Warped Runner. Now, this one really surprised me because I genuinely thought that the New Balance Warped Runner was going to be the next big thing. But today, pretty much every single colorway that New Balance has released on this model, you can find for like 50% off. New Balance had a very long run of introducing brand new models to their lineup, and those doing incredibly well. The 540s, the 327s, and most recently the 9060s. All of those to this day are insanely popular models. And the issue is I don't think that this model is the problem. It's an incredibly like cool looking, futuristic, minimal design that is insanely comfortable. But I just think the retro runner style trend that's going on right now is just way too dominant for this pair of shoes to be insanely popular. People would much rather grab a pair of 1906s or 2002 Rs, but regardless, it's still a solid pair of shoes, just definitely did not do as well as a lot of people thought. Which, speaking of sneakers that a lot of people thought was also going to be the next big thing, the Salehe Bembury Crocs Juniper. I only recently bought a pair to try these things out, and I actually paid 50 bucks under retail on the secondary market. And that is only the second colorway of this sneaker model that they've actually launched. Like, this is still a very, very new sneaker. Leading up to the initial launch, the first colorway that dropped, people were super excited about it. I remember talking about the leaks and everybody saying that this is such an interesting, cool looking pair of shoes. And obviously, given Salehe Bembury's history where pretty much everything that man touches turns into the next super hyped up sneaker, people were expecting the same for this. But I think one of the first issues with this sneaker was the release. It was just so incredibly limited that it kind of iced out anybody who just wanted to try out this new crazy silhouette. Kind of gave them a decision where they could go to the aftermarket and pay $500 for these things or just pass. And looking back on it now, I'm pretty sure you're going to be happy if you did decide to pass on them, because the excitement for this sneaker seems to be completely gone. You don't really see anybody wearing or talking about them. And if I'm being completely honest, I've been wearing them around for the past couple of days and I'm a little bit underwhelmed. They feel super heavy and they're super bulky. I absolutely love the design and the look of them, but just practically speaking, I just don't feel like they're exactly what I imagined they would be like. Overall, I'm glad I picked these things up because for the price that I paid, I'm happy to have them. But for the initial hype, it's pretty safe to say that these things flopped. Let me know down in the comment section what other sneakers should have been added to this list. And if you want to check out another video, just click that one right over there.